Today on InvestQ, I'm joined by Castellum CEO Glenn Ives to discuss the company's recent contract momentum and its role in supporting U.S. defense and cybersecurity, and where management sees opportunities going forward. If you're a current shareholder or just learning about Castellum CTM, I think you'll find this conversation quite valuable. All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to InvestQ. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by none other than the CEO of Castellum, Glenn Ives. And real quick, before we begin, I'd like to mention that today's discussion is based entirely on publicly available information and is intended to help investors better understand Castellum's business, their recent developments, and long-term strategy. So with that being said, Glenn, thank you very much for taking the time to join me here on InvestQ.
Hey, David, I also want to thank you. Anytime I have an opportunity to talk about Castellum and hopefully share accurate and timely information for our shareholders and for your listeners, it's a great opportunity, and I really appreciate you offering that up to me.
Thank you. And again, trust me, I'm not the only one that appreciates you joining me on the call. All the shareholders are going to love seeing you speak today, sir. So let's just jump right into it then, Glenn. All right. So first question that I do have for you. So Castellum has announced several encouraging developments recently that also include the $250 million Navy logistics, IT, integration, and support contract vehicle, and the Aircraft Data Management and Control System Modernization Award. From your perspective, why are these recent contract wins significant for Castellum, and what do they say about the company's momentum today?
Yeah, hey, thanks, David. So, really positive news that you just shared, and the reason why it's so positive, not only for CTM but for everybody involved with CTM, including our shareholders, the Navy Logistics IT Integrated Support Contract, David. So, do want to make a distinction there. I want to make sure all our listeners understand that that's not a single award, $250 million contract, right? I want them to understand that it's an IDIQ, multiple award contract, which gives us the opportunity to compete and win task orders that are related, to that kind of work. The reason why that's so important is because not only the Navy, but the entire federal government, and especially on the defense side, that is their acquisition strategy. They use IDIQs, they use MACs to go ahead and solicit task orders. So if you're not on them, you can't even compete for them. So getting on them is really, really important. This one is especially important because it's right up our alley. It's our bread and butter. I think every service, whether Navy, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, and throughout the defense, logistics, maintenance, supply chain is a real concern, and it requires steady, constant modernization. I think over the years we realized that everybody focuses in on the bright shiny objects, those jets that are flying, the weapons that are flying, but if they're not procured properly, if they're not supplied properly, if they're not supported logistically properly, none of that is going to work real well. So this IDIQ is specifically for naval aviation supply chain modernization on the logistics side through IT, and again, that's what we do. And so I've got no doubt that we're going to have an opportunity to really leverage that IDIQ, and that'll mean good things for CTM. And then for AdMax, that one is important, and I'm going to throw my first visual to you, David.
Okay.
I know you've seen those movies, Top Gun, Top Gun Maverick. You've seen the aircraft carrier scenes. We know that you can take those scenes to the Persian Gulf and Iran today. We've got 2 aircraft carriers in that theater right now, and they're flying every day. I'm not sure if all our listeners realize it, but there's anywhere between 75 to 90 different aircraft on board those aircraft carriers. And so you can think of a huge symphony there, the New York Philharmonic, where you've got every kind of musical player, and you've got the conductor trying to get the music all together and make it all sound really beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like that on a flight deck of an aircraft carrier with 90 different aircraft. To really get maximum efficiency in terms of getting those aircraft off the deck, recovering them safely, getting them to the mission, really requires some special systems, and that's what AdMax does.
Okay.
We provided the software support and the software engineering and the systems integration support to provide that capability on our aircraft carriers. We started this years ago. And so we did it well enough where the Navy came back and said, hey, we would like to modernize that system. And we would like Castellum and our subsidiary company, sister company, SSI, to do that work. So great honor for us. And really, if I were to share something with our shareholders, a real positive is that they did approach us, to do this modernization effort. Not a huge one, it's a $4 million effort right now, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to continue to grow in terms of what's required there.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much, Glenn. And I do know that the shareholders will appreciate the context that you provided regarding the LIIS $250 million contract vehicle, along with the AdMax Modernization Award. So, again, thank you for the context and thank you for your answer, Glenn. So, my next question that I do have for you is Castellum does operate across cybersecurity, software engineering, AI, DevSecOps, forgive me if I mispronounced that, electronic warfare, and mission support. So, for someone who may be discovering the company Castellum CTM for the very first time, how would you describe Castellum's mission, and how do those capabilities work together to support your customers?
Yeah, thanks, David. And that's a question I get a lot, so I appreciate you asking it.
No problem.
So, first and foremost, I hope we all know that, CTM is a technology services and solutions company in the national security arena, right? And specifically in Department of Justice and Defense, we feel those are two areas that we feel very, very strongly about. It holds right to our mission. A lot of us are veterans. A lot of us believe in the national security aspect of supporting our country. I know it sort of sounds like mom and apple pie, but a company needs to have an identity, needs to have a purpose, and ours is to support national security and our defense of our country and make things better around the world. And we do that through supporting our warfighters. So all the things you mentioned, cybersecurity, software engineering, AI, DevSecOps, you got that perfectly right.
Thank you for
EW,
letting me
electronic
know.
warfare, and mission support. All those are really important parts of how we support our mission customers. I've had people ask me sometimes, doesn't it seem like you guys do an awful lot? Would it be better if you guys sort of narrowed down your scope and focused on one or two things? And my answer back is, when you're a small business, you can probably want to and afford to really focus narrowly in a niche area. But if you're really going to grow in the defense sector, you have to be good at a number of things, and that's the really important thing I need our listeners to understand is we've worked very, very hard over the last 2 years to get this company CTM to where we are very, very, very good in some mission areas that are relevant today for defense, but more importantly, is going to be relevant for years to come, right? And so these areas that we're talking about, I'm going to do that visual one more time because I find that's the best way that a lot of folks understand, sort of what we do. So, we talked about AdMax, but going back to that carrier scene from Top Gun, and Top Gun Maverick, with all the aircraft landing and taking off from that, and you can see how it has to be orchestrated. The work that we do has everything to do with aircraft launch and recovery, which is a very, very complex system, right? And for many, many years, starting in the 60s, the technology that launched those aircraft and recovered them was steam technology. And so if you think back on the movie, you could see steam coming off that flight deck. A lot of people thought it was early morning fog, but no, it's not. It's steam actually coming off that flight deck as our sailors are preparing to launch those aircraft and also to recover them. Well, the newest aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford, the supercarrier that was off the coast of Iran for many months, they employ a new technology, electromagnetic technology. What does that do? It really makes the carrier much more efficient in terms of flight operations. So instead of having this much room on a carrier that requires all the equipment to launch and recover aircraft, it's now about this much. It takes not this many sailors, but these few sailors to operate the machinery because of electromagnetic technology. It takes wear and tear off the pilot. It takes wear and tear off the aircraft. and it just maximizes efficiency in terms of how the carrier operates flight operations. So it's the leading edge technology that we're using in the Navy, and our company, your company, CTM, is directly supporting the software development, engineering, and systems integration that goes behind that system. So one aspect of what we do, and we employ all those mission areas and technology domains that you talked about, David, whether it's cyber, whether it's AI, whether it's an EW mission or a information operations mission. We integrate all that depending upon what the requirement is. Does that sort of answer the question?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, sir, Glenn. It absolutely does. And again, both the answers that you've provided so far are mainly accomplishing the goal of what I wanted to do in this interview, which was give the shareholders of Castellum CTM more clarity. And that actually does help transition over to the next question that I do have, is because talking about the investors and interested investors or the current shareholders of CTM right now, they're hearing a lot of different things. Like, for example, they're hearing how defense modernization, cybersecurity, and AI are becoming increasingly important. So my third question that I have for you, Glenn, is, in your opinion, why do you believe technology modernization has become such a major priority for the Department of Defense, and where does Castellum fit into that broader mission?
Yeah. So David, it goes back to one of my first comments in terms of our company. I described us as a technology solutions and services company that is dedicated to national security, which means that we spend a lot of our time and a lot of our contracts are directly supporting research, development, test, and evaluation. RDT&E. That gives us a firsthand, on the field, right there, look at how technology, especially over the last several years, the last 10 to 15 years, how technology has just exploded, in all those domains that you talked about, whether it's cyber, whether it's AI, and we've been able to to observe that. We've been able to see how that's been applied. We've been able to see where it's important. We see how relevant it is. And so we've sort of shaped our strategy and shaped our company to ensure that we understand that technology, can leverage that technology for our mission customers so that we stay relevant, not just today, but tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And that's what RDT&E does, right? Because they're on the leading edge of technology. They're developing it with the government. So that does a couple of things for us. It makes us very resilient in terms of the technology that we understand and that we can employ and offer to our mission customers. When I say resilient, it goes back to the fact that 2025 is a great example, right? There was a government shutdown for almost 2 months. There was all the DOGE efforts that were happening. So the federal government was cutting back, on a lot of their contracts and cutting back on a lot of the funding, but they did not cut back in the RDT&E arena. So we did not experience, really any of the impact from DOGE, and we were able to work through the government shutdown, and largely because so much of our work is in RDT&E, which is funded, which is long term. It goes out anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So that makes us very resilient. And the fact that we're in the middle of it in terms of RDT&E, research, development, test, and evaluation of technology for mission platforms, for aircraft platforms, unmanned, autonomous, manned, across the board. That keeps us relevant, again, not just today, but going into the future. So you bet technology matters, and more importantly, we understand that, and we're engaged in making sure that not only does technology matter to our mission customer, but it matters to us so that we can stay relevant for our mission customers, not only today, but for the long term.
Okay. Awesome, Glenn. And I'm glad that you also mentioned that last part at the end, because you're talking about the long term. Because the last question I do have for you is relating to the future of Castellum CTM. And that last question that I'm specifically thinking about asking you right now is, as you think about the future of Castellum CTM, in your opinion, what differentiates the company from others operating in the defense technology space, and what excites you the most about the opportunities ahead?
Yeah. Yeah. So David, uh, I guess the first thing I'll say is that, I love what I do. I really, really do. We've got a great team, a great company. Our mission in terms of national security and defense, supporting our warfighters, means an awful lot to me. The What differentiates us? So that's a great question, and I do get that one a lot. The I know a lot of CEOs sort of struggle with that one, because I hear a lot of the same answers, right? Some say, hey, it's our people. Some say it's hey, we've got a certain kind of a niche technology that we think we have a product that we can offer to the government that makes us special, that makes us distinctive. Uh, so I will tell you that from my perspective, what differentiates Castellum is I'm going to go back to 2025, this past year, right? I don't want to rest on our laurels, but it's really an important benchmark that I hope our shareholders and listeners really understand and appreciate. Um, there were a lot of companies that sort of barely made it through 2025, based upon the adverse environment that Doge presented and the government shutdown presented. We actually thrived. We won our three biggest contracts ever, up to about $220 million, with a 5+ year runway. Well, why is that? I think that's a differentiator, right? I mean, the logical question is, how did Castellum do that? Why were they able to do that? So to me, there is a model that many government contractors follow. And there are a couple of basic traditional conventional models. It's not rocket science. If you want to grow in this business, you have to win organically, and you have to, at some point, if you want to scale, you have to make smart acquisitions to continue to grow your company, and scale it. Well, the plan is pretty basic, but the distinction, the difference maker, the innovation, the creativity, the critical thinking part is the execution piece, right? Can you execute on that model? Can you make it happen? And my hope and thought is that we proved that in 2025. Not only do we know how to execute, but we know how to execute really well. I mean, we are a well-oiled machine. We've got a battle rhythm going that I could not be more proud of or feel better about. And yes, it comes down to the team, right? It comes down to the special people we have, professionals who believe in our mission, national security and defense, who bring the expertise, the technology, the understanding of how that technology is leveraged, for our mission customers. And they're the ones that make all the difference. So if there's a differentiator for CTM, it's that we have a team that believes in what we do, committed for the long term. We want to make this company enduring, perpetual. We're going to. And we believe in the mission that we have is supporting our warfighters. We think it's the one that's going to be important today and tomorrow and for many, 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 many years to come. And we're dedicated to it. And we're not going to let up. We're going to continue to stay on top of technology. We're going to continue to leverage it to ensure our warfighters have everything they need. And so I think that's our differentiator.
Awesome. I think what stands out the most with that answer that you provided for me, Glenn, right now, and to the shareholders of Castellum CTM is you said it with in a stern, confident manner that you're not going to let up and you're going to continue to grow organically and you're going to scale with the plan that you do have. So again, I appreciate you for the answer, and I know the shareholders will also appreciate that. So that's all I got for today's interview, guys. So Glenn, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today on InvestQ. And I do know that shareholders always value the opportunity to hear directly from management, especially from the CEO of a company that they own shares of. So again, Glenn, thanks for joining me, sir.
My pleasure, David. And thanks for what you're doing and getting that information out to our shareholders. It's a great thing.
Awesome.
Have a great weekend.
You as well, sir. And again, all of you, if you did enjoy the interview, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and comment what the key takeaways for you were in this video. But besides that, guys, I'll see you on the next video.